I'm Donna Lynn Thomas, and I'm the author of the Anniversary Sampler Quilt. This is a really special quilt for me. As quilters, we like to commemorate the special events in our life with quilts. And so in 2015, I went back and I made a quilt that took me back 40 years to commemorate two very life-altering events that happened that year, very close together. And the first was that I met the love of my life, who became my husband, and I made a quilt for him just a couple months later. And those two passions have carried me through my life. To make the quilt, I chose 40 of my favorite blocks. They each had something special about them. There was a meaning to each of them. I used 40 reds and 40 pinks from my stash, and it didn't make a dent. It was like a walk down memory lane, picking through the fabrics from all those years ago, and from new ones just as well. It was a wonderful experience. But beyond making my own quilt, I wanted to encourage others to make their own commemorative quilts, to remember their special events and to put them into quilts as well. So in the book, there are 6 alternate sets, quilt sets, that you can totally customize for a 10-year, 15-year, 25-year, 30, 40, or 50-year event. And we all have so many things to commemorate. It would be a shame not to do that and leave a message for those to come. So over all these years, I love playing with block designs. And one of the things that I find that's really fun to do is add stripes, because it really creates a whole new sense of visual design to a block. So you can see some of the blocks I have here that I have striped up. Basic maple leaf that I've striped up into what's called the shimmering leaf. A friendship star that I have added stripes to, and this is called My Three Vets. Plain Dutch windmill, but this block actually comes with stripes in it. But when made in the past, we used templates. And this little block here is a fun one I call Sleight of Hand, which came from playing with the card tricks block. And instead of half square triangles, I took and striped everything up, made it really fun. And what might seem difficult is actually pretty easy to do, and it's all based on the concept of folded corners. It's also known as sew and flip. I know everybody has a different name for the concept, but when you see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the basic concept of folded corners is probably pretty familiar to most quilters. Even if you haven't done it, you've probably seen it before. And the idea is to take a smaller square and sew it onto the corner of a larger square, sew on the diagonal, and flip the corner over. And you've created a triangle in the corner of this square. And we usually trim the excess away. And now we have what's called a folded corner. Okay, it also goes by many other names, but that's the concept. Well, we can add stripes to other units in the same way by starting, in this case, with a half square triangle unit, taking a square and sewing it onto the corner, a smaller square, flipping it over, and we've now created a stripe. Of course, you can create as many stripes as you want. They can be at whatever size you want. You can have a lot of fun playing with this concept, but this is a striped square. Very simple concept. And we can do the same thing with a basic right triangle, half square triangle. We take a square and sew it onto the corner, flip it over, and we've got a triangle on the square, the corner of the bigger triangle. And of course, we could do different sizes of squares to create stripes on this as well. So these are all based on this very basic concept of folded corners. But there's more that we can do beyond that. So if we look at this maple leaf I was talking about, the shimmering leaf, you can see it has units like this in it, and these are striped rectangles. And there's a little trick that I've developed to make these, which is really very simple. It's based on the original concept of folded corners. And this is the unit right here, this striped rectangle. So we begin with a rectangle, and we sew a square onto the corner, just like you would normally with regular folded corners. And there's the unit there. But the question then is, how do we create the stripe, the next stripe in the rectangle? Well, we use a rectangle instead of a square. And we draw a diagonal line, a 45-degree angle line on it, sew it on the diagonal, and when we flip it over, we have our first stripe. And that's the finished unit there. Now we could continue building on more stripes, but in this case we just need the 2. So we're going to finish it off by sewing another square onto the far corner here, and there we have a striped rectangle. Very simple. You can make these very elaborate. You can make them long, you can make them short, you can add as many stripes as you want, different widths, all kinds of fun things that you can do. It's really a lot of fun to play with it, but it's all based on the simple concept of folded corners. Let's see what else we can do. So along with striped squares and striped rectangles, we can also do striped triangles like the ones found in this Dutch windmill block. And just like with the others, you can add as many stripes as you want, or even just one. This block calls for just one. So we begin with 2 quarter square triangles that are sewn together. They're the base. And then we take another smaller triangle and we sew across its center, midpoint there, and flip it over, and there's our stripe. If we wanted more, we could add smaller and smaller triangles, create more stripes. But just like we have done in the past, we trim the excess behind and we have a striped triangle. So striped units add all kinds of fun design elements to the blocks, just like those found in the Anniversary Sampler quilt. I hope you enjoy making your own Anniversary Sampler quilt. Thank you for joining me. I'm Donna Thomas.